We live?
We are live. We are going live. It's not coming up. There, there we are. We are live.
All right.
Well, anyways, welcome to Radio Oz with Metal Mike. Tonight's guest is Josh Bramlett from The Protest, a rock band
What's
from
up?
Central Indiana. I'll introduce Josh here and let him introduce himself a little bit, and then we'll get into the business of the night.
Sure.
Welcome to the
What's
show,
up?
Josh.
Yeah. Hey, brother. Thank you so much for having me, man. Thank you first and foremost for your support for the genre. It means a lot to me and countless others. Yeah. Josh Bramlett, lead singer of The Protest, guilty as charged. Been doing this for over 15 years now. With these guys, so it's been an awesome ride so far, and yeah, I'm stoked to be on the show tonight.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it. So tell us a little bit about The Protest and who they are and everything leading up to today.
Sure. We're kind of a rare case. We're in an industry where band members can come in and out like a revolving door. That's very normal. It happens with when you're trying to get adults to be in a band together. It's hard. It's easy for other guys to pick up other responsibilities and all that stuff. But we're kind of the rare case. It's been the four of us since 2009. We've had some bass players whom I love dearly come and go. But it's been the four of us since 2009. Jared is my little brother. So, we fell in love with rock and roll music when we were growing up. I mean, even before we were serious about following Christ, we loved rock and roll. I mean, we were massive Kiss fans. I mean, massive. And they kind of started it all for us. And so, we got an old drum kit. I started taking some lessons on the guitar, and then I met TJ. We were in like 5th grade, and he was really into rock and roll too. So the three of us started kind of jamming around, and then Adam, our lead guitar player, he was actually my guitar teacher at the time. And so, which is super cool. And, he was a little bit older. So I always thought it was really cool, the fact that he wanted to like hang out with me and, teach me guitar and just really become one of my best friends. So, yeah, pretty much, Adam, when he graduated high school, he went out to LA, studied guitar. And the three of us started a band. We started playing at every birthday party that we possibly could, every garage, every fair in town, at school we would play. I mean, I'm sure people's ears were bleeding because I'm sure we were terrible. But we really caught the bug, man, and we loved it. And when we were all in high school, we started getting serious about our faith, and we decided to use the gifts that God has given us to administer His grace and share the hope that we have with everyone that we come in contact with. Fast forward a couple years after that, we offer Sarge out. He's out in LA. I didn't think he would want to come back and join some cheesy young kids band, but we offered him a spot, and he moved back home and joined our band. And yeah, from 2009 on, we've been hitting it pretty hard. 2012, we went down to the studio, did our first record as The Protest. And since then, just been putting out music and touring and trying to navigate this thing they call the music industry. And, we're super blessed, man. I can't believe that God would use a bunch of knuckleheads from the Midwest to, be a small part of furthering His kingdom. So, yeah, it's been awesome.
So speaking of the beginning, and you all went from indie, so to speak, to being on a label for a few years and back now to indie again, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the new song that you just released last week, or a week and a half ago, sounds great. That's independent too. That's not on a label again, correct?
Right. Yep.
So what's making you stay? I mean, there's not a lot of labels out there, unfortunately, like there used to be back in the day.
Right.
So is that, and it's hard to even be independent and even pay to record and all this, but you're going out, like you said, touring. I mean, you're out touring with Skillet, you're out touring with some of the other bigger names, Disciple and such. So you're getting the fan base out there. How with recording this new song? Tell us a little bit about recording there, and then move into, because you were recording this while you were doing these tours and getting it prepped for release. And so, what got us to 2026? You're touring with the biggest bands in the industry that you're in, and what's got taking that song in the middle of all this? Is that what I mean? I can see this. I can hear those influences in that song. As to me, there's an influence I can hear a little bit of.
Sure.
So, tell us a little bit about the new song, and then we'll go back into history and talk about some of the other albums and such from there. But I want to get this new song out, some props that it deserves.
Sure. Thanks, man. Yeah. So, yeah, this is the we've been working on a record for a very long time. In an age where it's good to get music out as quick as possible now. We've kind of done the opposite, not by choice. There's been a lot of factors, all great things, but just life, man. Like people having babies and crazy things happening, and so we've really taken our time with these songs and really tried to curate something special. That will resonate with the audience. This is the third single that we put out over the last handful of months, and this particular song, Cloudwalker, is super special to us. Chains Are for Breaking and Grief Case are super heavy songs. And we're a pretty heavy band. We love heavy music, but we also love straight up rock and roll. And with I think with Cloudwalker, we wanted to do something really different. We wanted to do a rock song that's just uplifting and fun, and and what's really special about this particular song is Sarge had been working on this for like 5 years. So so like we've heard this title, he had this song Cloudwalker, and it kind of became like like a unicorn type thing. We're like, man, like how about Cloudwalker? He's like, oh, it's not ready yet. And and it was like it's been like 5 years, and then he finally brought it to the table, and man, we just loved it. It was a different energy than the stuff that we've been putting out. And I think what we love most about it is like we try to capture just I love our genre, man. I love our music. I love all the bands in our industry, but I think a lot of times we have songs that are most of our songs are like this too, about how hard it is and personal struggle, and I think that's really important to have that in songs. But we wanted to do at least one song on this record that's just makes you feel good, and let you know that there is hope, and hope is real and tangible through Jesus. And so yeah, and dude, to be completely honest with you, it was a little scary putting the song out because people really like our heavy stuff. So putting this song out was a little scary because we knew that it would be different, and we were afraid that some people would be like, well, this is not really what I was wanting from you guys. But so far the response has been awesome. It's been amazing. So I know my parents like it a lot because there's not a ton of screaming in it. So yeah, but it's been awesome. We're super excited to have it out, and Lord willing, the new record really soon.
So is that going to be in the set list? Is this going to be in the set list for the tour coming up?
Yep, absolutely.
So that's good, especially considering, like you just said, you've got a lot of. I mean, you got a couple of times you all slow down a tad bit. I won't say to half speed, but you slow down to about 7 or so.
Sure.
Everything else is 11 or more. So
yeah, right. Yeah, I think it's important to do that sometimes. At the end of the day, like We're not a metalcore band. We dabble in it. I love that genre, but at the end of the day, we're a rock band, a hard rock band, and we're gonna kind of do the music that we want to do. So,
well, even some good hard rock bands have some screaming, so I won't go.
Oh, yeah.
I won't go as far as metalcore, but
right,
possibly live it is more closer to metalcore on a few songs. Yeah, for sure.
sure.
So going back in time to a time I can't even remember the year. This always interested me, and I when I first heard the cover was in the air tonight, and it's a completely reworked version of a Phil Collins classic. With, I mean, there's a drum solo, but it's not the iconic drum solo.
Right.
So we won't discuss the drum part today because J-Rob's not here. But so what made you record? I mean, I know you love classic rock because I've seen you doing some acoustic stuff yourself, and your brother and you both do that on the side also together. So, but this has been almost a decade ago that was recorded. So what made you choose that one specific song?
Well, to be honest with you, we started playing it. We started doing a version live before we hit the studio, and it was like an epic, man. Like, for better or worse, it was like 6 minutes. I mean, we had this crazy dueling a harmony line in there, and just a really extended musical breaks. And we started doing it live. And when we went down to the studio to record our first real record, it was with a guy named Travis Wyrick. We went down there because at the time, a lot of our heroes were going there, dudes like Disciple and Pillar and, artists like that were going down. Oh, hello. Jocelyn, say hi. Okay.
Hello.
I'm so sorry. I didn't.
It's okay. She got loose. That's my daughter.
That's cool.
Yeah. Anyways, so we went down to the studio and we had planned on recording the song. Our producer Travis liked the idea, but he's just a musical genius. So so he kind of helped us break it down, make it a little bit more radio. And I think what's really special about that song for me was that song is where I really found my voice for the first time. Travis really taught us a lot about being in a rock band. He was very long suffering with us. And I think if it was anyone else, he might have said, I don't know if I can work with you guys because you're just not good enough. You know what I mean? But I think he saw our hearts, and he saw some potential in what we were doing. So as much as we were tracking these songs, he was teaching us like how to be in a band. He was teaching me how to sing like a guy in a rock band sings, not some scared kid from the middle of nowhere. And that song particularly was the first song that I sang vocally in the studio with him. And I was just drenched in sweat every day because I was working these muscles I've never worked before. And I'm in there just singing as hard as I can. I have a lot of fondness for that song for that reason. And it's funny because, none of us were, I like Phil Collins and Genesis, just as much as the next guy that likes, classic rock, but we didn't have a certain affinity for that song. We just started playing it live. I think a band called Nonpoint did a cover of it. Yeah. It was kind of a rock version, and we thought it was kind of cool, so we started doing it, and then it ended up making the record. We're super proud. Listening back at that record, I can definitely hear how green I was, but it's a really special song and a really special record for us for sure.
Yeah, because like I said, I can see now when you're talking about not the non-point version, I can see where you could go with that version as a jump off point.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So I can see that because I remember hearing their version, and I'm like, I've heard a couple different covers of it, and each one of them has taken their own liberties or their own take on it, and it's I've got a shoegaze version of it by a group called The Choir. That's
Oh, sweet.
so it's completely and they've been around in the Christian scene for what 45 years almost now.
Wow.
So
That's incredible.
yeah. So they started out as a alternative band in the mid '80s and worked their way through. They did praise and worship. They've done not technical praise and worship as we do in the church, but in an alternative way.
Yeah.
And written songs that you probably heard, but you wouldn't know who sung it back in the day.
Sure.
So for sure.
Yeah.
But anyways, I always thought that's what I remember that being one of the earlier songs that you guys put out professionally. And it was always wondering, I was like, there's got to be a story to this because nobody wants to jump into a song that's revered as much as it is in a sense.
Oh yeah. I mean, looking back on it, I think we were just young and crazy. Like I would never now I feel like just because I have so much respect for some of those songs, like to tackle a cover like that now, I just don't know if I would do it. I think I'd be too afraid.
Yeah, it's a different, and like I said, I've seen you do acoustic stuff where you've done that and some other stuff that it's like he just pulled this out and they're like, what?
Yeah,
because you're not old. You're not older. That's my first thought. But then when you see that you and your brother are out playing in club, not really, I can't say clubs, but bar scenes where people want to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
So I can see, I can understand that a little more.
Oh, so. Totally, man. And I mean, like I said before, a lot of my late elementary and middle school, I was just, my dad listened to a lot of classic rock radio. So, I got into it and I was enamored by artists like Kiss and AC/DC, Springsteen, just all those guys. I loved that era. And then I really got into the hair metal era. And it just, it just kind of grew from there, Yeah,
I was gonna say that's a good progression there, going from classic rock to hair to now being almost modern, more modern rock. I mean, say modern heart rock.
Sure.
So taking it from there, you moved on. You've done what, 3 albums and a couple EPs thrown in the mix, and then singles. So, so looking back. So what's some if you, I mean, I know you do a lot of songs live, but what's some of your favorites through the years that stick out as memories, and why are they memories that make you feel happy? I ain't gonna ask you what makes you mad, or like you said, you sounded green recording that. That's growth. That's part of growth. And working with Travis, I'm sure it helped you tremendously because, like I said, he's worked with, like you said, and I've said, a ton of people that we all respect. Even Travis had his own stuff back in the mid '90s.
Yes, he did.
It was industrial.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, looking back, there's been a lot of special songs, and obviously almost all of them we've almost retired from the set. But there was one song off of that same record, that first record, called Chambers, and for years, that was our closing song. It had the most energy. We were able to get Noah Henson from Pillar to come in and shred on it, and that song just talks about how the enemy is like a lion, and he's seeking to devour our souls. But if we have Christ in our hearts, then there's nothing that the enemy can do about it. And that song for us was like a huge rallying cry. It was a big live moment for us, where we just gave it all, man. I mean, it was usually at the end of the set, and I mean, just doing stuff that would probably hurt my back now, but yeah, like that one really sticks out, over the years. And I mean, Legacy was a really important record for us as well, and that was our first record on Rockfest Records, and there's some songs on that are always going to be really special to us for sure. I think right now, my favorite songs to play live are probably some newer stuff, like Take It Back, Paper Tiger, and then our newest songs are probably among my favorites to play right now.
Yeah, I know Paper Tiger's a one that everybody, I think, looks forward to anymore too.
Yeah,
that
For
everybody
sure.
I've been around when they've seen you there, it's like a good. Everybody's like, yeah, we can get that. We got that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that song's a good example of like what we try to do. Like same with "Take It Back," um, and you can look back on other records too, and hopefully see this. Like we like even our really really heavy songs like "Paper Tiger." We still try to have a fun like rock and roll element to it. So that's kind of something we really pride ourselves in and try to do is write these super heavy songs, but they have like a like fun kind of party rock vibe to them, even though they're super heavy. We want people to come to our show and leave feeling different, and I think a lot of that is the music that you play and what's behind it.
So taking that, going with that, we go back to the touring that you've just finished with. Like I said, with some of the biggest bands in the market. I mean, how does them songs? Do you think those songs are really hitting with the crowds while you're out there with that now?
Yeah, it's always different with different places that you go. Like like when we played with Disciple, we've been we've had the privilege of touring with those guys a lot, for over 10 years now, which is crazy because if you would have told me that when I was in high school, I would have said you're crazy. Like Kevin and the boys were and are a huge influence for us, and they really took us under their wing and kind of showed us the ropes, especially in the early days. And it's still an honor to play with those guys now. But yeah, like when we go out with them, we're very similar style, kind of that like hard rock on the verge of metal sometimes. And there we share a lot of the same fans, and it goes over super well. With Skillet, it was kind of interesting because the first couple nights we're in these massive theaters and their seats, right? And we're used to
Mhm.
people kind of getting on their feet and stuff. And I think when we first went out, at least the first couple days, we were crushing it, and like we felt like we were crushing it, but people were kind of sitting and looking like they weren't having a good time, and I was like, oh no, like are people not digging it? But then after the show, we by the grace of God, we would have a line that lasted hours, to come and meet us and talk to us and get some merch. And turns out I think everyone really liked it. I think they were just taking it in. I mean, for the vast majority of those people there to see Skillet, we were brand new to them, and we are a little bit heavier than those guys at times. So I think they were kind of taking it all in. But then as the tour went on, especially in the rooms that were standing only, it got super rowdy and they were super fun and pumped up. So that was cool. And just to see that, like we've opened for like a lot of bands like Striper, we've opened for bands like Buck Cherry and Saliva and all these rock bands. And usually I've found if you're a fan of rock music, hard rock music, you usually like our stuff pretty well. Like just a couple weeks ago, we opened for Buck Cherry, and I was really,
Interesting mix.
yeah, yeah, it was very interesting. I was curious, one, to see what people would think of our music, because they're a very classic rock sounding band, and I mean they were incredible live. But we're pretty in your face and heavy, and then let alone I still take time out to talk about Jesus, and I was really wondering I wonder how this is going to go. But again, man, I don't think we give people enough credit. Like, I'm in this club sharing the gospel, and nobody was offended. And afterwards, I had a lot of people, even people who weren't believers, say that, hey, man, I really respect that you guys are standing up for what you believe in. And there were some people that, like, man, something about your guys' set just felt different. And, that's really, really cool that God is working in those moments. So I think opening for, different bands like that, it can be kind of scary to wonder how you'll be received. But I think for the most part, it's been super positive. The skillet run was really, really good for us in a lot of ways. And I can say this um, to anyone who doesn't know John and his crew. They are some of the best people out there. They really are. I mean, even at their level, they are the real deal. They love Jesus, and they just have the best crew and some of the best people out there. So very, very humbled that they invited us to join.
So like I said, I mean, and that's going back to history there. I mean, you've been around for 15 years, and to get the break this late in the game, so to speak, does say a lot. That people are still looking and listening.
Yeah, no, sure. And what I found in this industry is, you know, you kind of have to subvert your expectations. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I first started, I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to be a rock star, and the reasons behind it were not to please Jesus. It was to please man, and to please myself. Like I have something to prove. And I had to learn early on, and sometimes in this, in this industry, it's still a battle that you have to fight. But like, you know, it's we get to do this. It's a privilege to do this. If the protests stopped right now, like I guess what I'm trying to say is, the Lord doesn't need the protest. The rocks will cry out if we're not singing. And there's so many other amazing bands out there, and we're just a very, very, very small part of a really good industry. And we're just humbled to be used. So I've been really training my thinking, especially as an adult, to like, I get to do this. This is a privilege to do this. And if we don't end up being the next big thing, then that's okay. We've had a lot of amazing things happen. And we've been able, through Christ to touch a lot of lives. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Like before we started this interview, we talked a little bit about David Pataconi and just his heart. And, a guy like that, he's in it for one reason, and that's to encourage and give people hope. And, at the end of the day, that's what we have to do it for, because there's not a lot of money in this game. All of our families, take major sacrifices when we go on the road. We're not there. And, that can be hard. 3 out of the 4 of us have children, and 2 of us have babies, so it's like just trying to, navigate that. Like if we weren't doing it for Jesus, then what would be the point,
Right. I mean, and that's commendable, because you hear all about the rock star, like you just said, that leaves family and home, and how often that lasts, because they're just out on the road constantly. You guys will take 2 weeks here, a couple weeks here, just to do these small tours, but you still got a family to feed. You still got a wife to love, or a family member that's helping. And that you don't hear about that. You hear about
Totally.
the drama that comes with it.
Yeah, and things just change. Like when we were in our 20s, we'd be out for 6 to 8 weeks sometimes. You know what I mean? Now that's not really an option for us. So like we just have to get more intentional and more creative with how and when we go out. And like you said, man, like being a family man and leading your family through Christ is a very important job, and we're all very, very blessed to have an amazing support system, because we couldn't do it without them. We really couldn't. So we're super, super blessed by that.
Yeah. I met your wife, and she goes with you. When you're doing stuff by yourself,
yeah,
she'll go out with you with just you and your family.
Yep.
For a weekend run.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still hard. but it's nice to be able to spend that quality time together.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's super cool. And before we had kids, Kate would come out on the road with us all the time, which was really fun and cool and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's important that you kind of make your family a part of it. And I think one thing we all had to learn was um, like when we got married and starting having kids, it's like family is very important. I know that sounds easy to some people, but when you're in a rock band and you put every single thing you have into that for your whole life, and then you have a family, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, like there's something else that's really important. And it took me a long time personally, selfishly, to put my family first, just because, you know, the music industry kind of can become an obsession, and a grind, and you get kind of addicted to that grind, and that's all that matters. And that's when I had to take a step back and really look at why I was doing this and what I was doing it for.
Right. So looking back, I mean, so you went through a record label. The record label was pretty much folded at this point, correct? Right about the time you.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, after that first record with the Phil Collins cover, Game Changer, we did our second record with Mark Anthony of the Letter Black. Still independent at that time. We ran a couple radio singles off that record, and then after that we were signed to Rockfest Records, and put out Legacy as the first record on Rockfest Records. And I love Joe, and I love Seventh Day, and I love that label. They did a lot for us. I'm so thankful for that time, and I'm so thankful that he took a chance on us, because a lot of what we did there with with that label has sowed the seeds for what we're doing now. So super thankful for that. The decision to go independent after the second record, with Rockfest, was not one that we took lightly, because like we loved them and we loved what they were doing. I think we just wanted to see what it would look like to do it on our own. And yeah, I'm not sure where the label's at now. I know that like there's still some really good bands kind of on that label, like Living Scars and Don Michelle's new band Seventh Day.
Yeah, right. You're right. You're right.
So I think they're still doing stuff, and I love that whole camp. Some of the best people. I love their family, and I'm just thankful to have them in our lives and as part of a history of what we've done. We owe a lot of gratitude to Seventh Day and Rockfest Records for sure.
Right. Let's see. We got a couple comments in our chat here. We've got Blake Johnson jumping in, said he loved the Pound Walker. See. Blake Johnson said he liked your hat.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. And Jay Carp said he loved seeing the babies at the side stage at KCF.
Absolutely.
But that's home territory. So you're almost a house band at KCF.
Well, and that's something I definitely don't take lightly. Out of all the shows we play every year, KCF's just special. And it's because of the people, those are some of the best human beings on earth. Jay and that whole crew, some of the best human beings on earth. And I think some of the best examples of serving the kingdom with nothing in return, monetarily. And they're a huge inspiration for us, and it's truly an honor to be there every year, like we have been. It's truly an honor. It's one of our favorite shows. So
it's always a fun crowd. I mean, the 2 years I've been there, and then seeing videos from the years I've missed, I mean, it's always looks like. I mean, when I went up there this year, and it was like I hadn't seen people in a few years for some people. or people I've only met on Facebook, and
Right.
people coming up to me, giving me hugs, checking on, saying, "Hey, how are you doing?" It's like they always say it's a family reunion.
No, yeah, that's exactly
It's the truth,
right. Well, and that's what I love about stuff like KCF is like, yeah, I mean that's exactly what it is. Like, you've got friends from all over the country coming um to one spot to celebrate something that they love, and it's really cool for bands too because like you got to think like some of my best friends are in other bands, and we don't get to see each other very much unless we're on the road or at a festival, or we run into you know each other out there somewhere. So like it's always a big treat playing shows like that because you get to see old friends and really catch up. Because there's so many good bands and good people in this industry. It's just awesome to be a part of it.
right. And that's same here. I mean, I've been doing different things, music. I don't play music, but I been in and out, working concerts,
Oh
going to
yeah,
festivals, doing this. And like I said in the post a few days ago, it's amazing how many people, like I said, that I've met through the years that I'm still talking to in some way, form,
sure.
musicians wise. And like I said, I don't play, but I've gotten that respect in what I'm trying to accomplish, and or do, and it's
Sure.
mind boggling
Yeah.
as a fan looking in. And then, I mean, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly in the industry. I mean, I
Sure.
won't go into details on that because that's not what this show's about.
Of course.
But there are, like we talked about, David. There's a few others that not yourself, not with that withstanding yourself. I mean, we've talked a few different times in different locations, but different people out there that are humbling. That not the rock star. They don't have their nose up in the air. They want to know you as a person. And I've met a bunch of those. Like I said, I've met people that'll message me, checking on family. And like I said, they don't know me from anybody. They just know me as a fan that supports them,
Sure.
that supports what you're trying to get out. Like by putting out a song on a playlist, or reaching out and saying, "Hey, how's it going?" Liking even just simple as liking a post on Facebook.
Sure.
They'll turn around and message me and say, "Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. How you doing?" I mean, it happens all the time, and it's just mind-boggling. You as yourself as in a band, and you see a fan. There are people you remember year after year after year. Going to KCF, going to Arizona and playing. You might see them one time, and they'll do the same thing, but they'll remember the impact that you've made. By either liking your music or listening to your testimony or what you're speaking of that evening.
Sure.
Or where you've touched them in some way that nobody else has. You're going to reach somebody differently than a normal preacher.
Sure, man, and I think that's a great point to make. There's lots of different ministries out there. There's lots of people that can reach people that I can't. Like what you do, man. I mean, you were reaching people that you know that I can't reach, and vice versa. And that's what's so cool about what we all do. This is just the way that that we do it. I'm not a very good teacher. I'm not a very good pastor, um, but I do have a vessel that the Lord has given me to share the hope, that I have, and it is just an honor. I mean, like I said before, it's cool to be a co-laborer with guys like you and other bands and other people out there just that want to see lives changed. And I think some of the best advice I ever got, regarding what you were saying earlier, when you talk about the impact that you might have on someone. I mean, even in passing, I remember we were on a tour with The Letter Black and Spoken in like 2012, probably. We were way out west. It was one of our first tours. I remember we played this little show, and I was talking with Matt Baird, who is a man that I respect so much. He's an incredible
100%.
human being. And he was telling me that, people might forget your songs, you know, but they're not going to forget how you made them feel. Um, so that's something I've really tried to lean into, because there's a lot of other rock bands out there that are admittedly much better than we are, but we can control how we act and what we say after the show and how we interact with people. And for us, that's, really important.
Right. I mean, talking about Matt, I mean, that's somebody that I'm amazed at. He's a true blue musicianary
Yeah.
in the 2026.
Yes,
You do not see that. I mean, yeah, you go out and do spot shows here in the church, you go to worship here, but that man's out on the road 200 dates a year
Mm-hmm.
normally. With that,
Right.
I mean, notwithstanding what's been going on in his personal life the last year, which I won't go into detail because he's not really wanting to talk about it right now. But and I mean, I can tell you how many times I've seen him locally in a friend of mine's front yard.
Right.
Who does that? Nobody.
Yeah.
And I mean, 30 years ago you might have seen it, but in the 2000s it was far and few between.
Right.
He's out there doing the same thing you were doing when you go to the churches, like we were just talking about. But he does it, like I said, 200 dates a year, where you might do it 20, if
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And then you'll do the 30 dates or so with the protest.
Sure.
So go back a little bit. I got right behind me. I've got some posters of some shows that are memorable for me that included you guys. And we'll talk about a little bit of that history. The Rock on Water, Rock on Winters with Scott Shireman. Do you have fond memories of those shows?
Extremely. A lot of fond memories of Scott too. Again, another guy that took a big chance on us. We actually did one of the early iterations of Rock on Winter. And it was in like this big like gymnasium type deal, and this is a long, long time ago. Again, probably 2011 or 12 or 13, and like Sidewalk Prophets and all these other bands, and then you had us, this heavy metal, super young band at the time, and I remember that was a really, really good show for us, and it was really cool that this guy took a chance on us, and just to become friends with Scott over the years, get to see his band play, get to hear his heart, and then of course what Rock on Winter and what Rock on Water turned into is just incredible. He was so gifted as a promoter. And it's just such an amazing human that I think left a huge hole in this world and in this market. I mean, if you're in a Christian band, you know who Scott is, and and he's just awesome. And I'm gonna miss that dude like crazy, but so thankful for what he did, and I hope that he gets to see the ripples of what he's done here on Earth, and just see the changes that his obedience made.
Right. Yeah, Scott was somebody that supported me from pretty much the beginning of what I was doing and everything. I mean, I've been doing different variations of what I'm doing, but Scott over the years, he supported me. He says, "Do what you got to do, and just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons."
Yeah, for sure.
So, and he's the one that pushed me and him, and I don't know if you know Dion. Dion from down here in the Louisville area. Most everybody, he goes to almost every time. He's went to Rock on Water every year, Rock on Winter, and then I think he went to a couple of shows at Roger Van Fleet's church. But anyways, they pushed me to go to KCF. He said, "That's your crowd. Go. You need to go, mingle, do whatever you got to do to get your face out there and introduce and see what happens." And and I can't be thankful enough for what him pushing me to do that, because that introduced me to a lot of the people in the Christian scene for this type of music. I mean, I met some through the years, but the newer bands, it's like I said, it's so hard. I've told people this before. It's so hard to find. It was so hard for me to find the newer music because I was so stuck in 1999 or before.
I get it.
so, and then because I was out of the Christian scene up until probably 2009, with just a few variations of bands that I liked at the time. Because for me, that when it started getting every band started sounding the same, so I got bored.
Sure.
So
I get that.
So I jumped out of the scene and then got back in the scene when metalcore was really starting to take off. We were talking about metalcore earlier. When it started taking off with For Today and Under Oath was big, but I wasn't a big Under Oath fan. But examples, War of Ages was just getting started, and so on. I mean, that's what brought me back into the scene. I was a Demon Hunter fan before all that, and I've kept that up. And then as time went on, I'm finding, oh man, there's actually some bands out here that I can dig now. They're not so cookie cutters. There's still some out there, but not as much, which is good. There's a lot of, like you said, there is a lot of bands that do sound the same, but I think the message has gotten clearer, if that makes any sense, because for a long while, unfortunately, and even in the Christian scene, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, Jesus got left behind.
Sure.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And bands lost that, and we've lost a lot of those metalcore bands to really, literally leaving Jesus. They left the faith if they ever had it. Some people say
it's not popular to, it's not super popular to, speak the name of Jesus from stage. A lot of times, if you're wanting to be a rock star, make it really big. I'd wager to say, speaking about Jesus from stage is like what you don't want to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So but it's very, and I know a lot of amazing bands with amazing hearts that don't necessarily speak about Jesus from stage, but then afterwards they're spending time with their fans and doing just that. So I think everyone's approach is a little bit different, but I know for us, the Lord kind of put it on our hearts. Like if you have this microphone, you've been given these gifts of music and to play music. And, for us personally, for us not to speak about Jesus from the stage, whether we're at a church, a club, a bar, whatever. It's just really important for us. There's power in the name of Jesus alone.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So even at shows like the Buck Cherry show, I may not spend, as much time as I would playing at a church or something, but I'm going to tell them, hey, listen, here's what we believe. We believe that Jesus Christ is our Savior, that he died for your sins and mine, and that he loves you so much. I'm not here to make you believe anything. I'm not here to change your mind about anything. I'm here to offer you something, and that's hope. And if you came in here and you're feeling like you're missing something, like you're missing out or you have no hope, then please come talk to us, because that's why we're here. And I think it's really important to make that clear, even in places like that. I just want to make sure that no matter where we go, the name of Jesus is coming off our lips, because there's so much power in that. And I also believe that the word of God doesn't come back void. So, every time before we play a show, I'm always speaking to Jesus and just asking him to just speak through us on and off the stage and just have his will with what we're doing. Because at the end of the day, when I've tried to make it my will, I've tried to speak the things I want to say, I try to do the things I want to do, it never works out.
Talking about you talking from the stage, I remember as I think it was Rock On Winter that we were discussing here in 2022. It was you guys, Disciple, and Chaotic, Hush Harbor, and I can't remember who, and 3 Days Under. Mm-hmm. And you had Travis speak from Chaotic, you speak, and then Kevin all spoke that day, and that was one of my probably favorite shows just because it was church.
Sure. Oh, dude. I I find myself in that position more often than not. When I'm after Travis and before Kevin, and both those guys are so gifted in evangelism. I used to be really insecure about going in between those guys. But, I think I've realized that, my approach might be a little different, but, I think it takes that sometimes. So I don't feel near as intimidated anymore, but, yeah, Travis and Kevin are incredible. I mean, truly incredible.
I mean, to be in this type of not situation, type of scene, and to be as bold as those two are. I mean, I've seen set lists made for Chaotic with 10 songs, and you're lucky if you get past song 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kevin, same thing sometimes. I mean, I've seen him have 15 songs in a set list and cut it down to 12, 10 to 12, because of the times constraints that end up being because of him speaking. But I don't. You don't see me walking away. You don't see me,
Right.
being annoyed because, like you said, I mean, going in front of a secular crowd, and you're sitting there, and they're not booing you, not doing the rawhide scene from Blues Brothers, throwing beer bottles at you.
100%.
You that means something. It means you're either respected, like you said earlier, or they're listening. You've planted that seed that's important, and
Sure.
that's what our job is.
No,
Go
dude,
forward to tell the world.
yes, you're totally right, and it's not that I'm better or more holy than anyone in that room. In fact, it's probably the opposite. But I think what I try to communicate, especially in places like that, is listen, like the Lord wants you right now. Like you're looking at a guy up here that sins and falls short, but I've been saved by grace. And I think it's really important for non-believers to know that, because I think a lot of times you know, they'll be scared. How can they approach such a perfect God if they feel like they're not worth it, and they feel like they have too many scars, they've done too many things. It's really important to know that you know they are seen and they're beautiful and the Lord loves them. So yeah, and just like you said, bro, like it is our job, like for me not to speak the name of Jesus from stage, doing what we do, you know to me feels irresponsible, honestly. Like, he's changed my life so much. Like, for me not to speak about it it just wouldn't make any sense for me personally.
Right, and that's understandable. I mean, there are guys I know that they won't speak from stage because they're
Sure.
either afraid or don't feel it's their calling.
Yeah.
And I respect that just as much.
Yeah. No,
You know,
100% there too. A lot of personal friends that love Jesus so much, and like I said, off stage they're amazing, and they spend time with their fans and talk about Jesus, but they might not say it from stage. And yeah, I've got mad respect for every type of ministry in our industry, for sure.
yeah, because I mean, I get every once in a while I'll get a little flack, not as often as I used to, because I'm mixed. Like going back to the secular stage, I'm in that sort of same avenue that I'm a believer. I want people to know I'm a believer, but I'm willing to share with the stage with you and let you have your say. Regardless if you're a Christian or not, I
Sure.
still respect you as a human. You
Right.
know, you know.
Yeah.
I might not totally 100% agree with you, or I might, but I'll still love you the same.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. And
So,
I think that's very important for people to see that and understand that, because I mean that's the last thing I want is because at the end of the day, I can't make that decision for anyone in the audience. I can't make
No.
them believe in Jesus. That is their choice and their decision. Of course, I want everyone to believe in Jesus, but I can't force you, and I'm not going to make you feel bad for not, but I just want to share the hope I have. And, yes, there is a reality of, like just, the wages of sin is death. And yes, I realize that. And there is a harsh reality there that I do think needs to be communicated at some point. But I think at the beginning, people just need to know that, like, following Christ isn't scary, and they are welcome. I mean, even as they are now, they are welcome.
Right. So, talking about secular music, has any of your music over the years been promoted towards the secular industry, or has it all been specifically to the Christian rock industry?
Yeah, man. So that's kind of tough because the the real truth behind everything is, like, it takes money to do a lot of that stuff.
Exactly. But
You know what I mean? So, like, we've been blessed to be in the Christian industry for a long time now, and have built up some pretty solid things there. We've done some secular press stuff in the past. It just costs money, man. And not that it's not worth it sometimes, but when you're in a band that you know aren't millionaires, you have to really pick and choose, where and how you spend that money. And yeah, like, we've done it in the past. We've done some secular radio campaigns. We've done some secular publications where I was kind of instructed to, like, not really talk about Jesus. I could talk about, like, hope and light and stuff like that. And if the conversation is brought up not by me, then I could talk about Jesus, right? So it's like, I remember that being pretty tough. But the cool thing was, almost every interview I did with secular radio or secular magazines or whatever, like, they could just tell, I think, and they would bring it up, and if they brought it up, I could talk about it, and it happened almost every time, which was really cool. That God kind of opened those doors. But yeah, I mean, of course, we'd love to get into the secular market, and we've done some shows and some tours with some secular bands, and it's always great. It's just tough. We've put ourselves in a position where we are unashamedly talking about Jesus. And again, like I said, that's not super popular. So
right, there is, unfortunately, still there's some censorship on that.
sure.
There is, and like you said, I mean, jokingly, payola is still alive and well, even though it's not supposed to be,
Right.
so to speak.
Right.
But like I said, I mean, yeah, I know it takes money to get stuff out there, but I didn't know if y'all had ever tried. Not really hard, but I mean, you see some stuff every once in a while. You'll see somebody get lucky and take off for say half the year, have a song that's not charting, so to speak, but somehow got airplay, like on Sirius FM and all that. Because you'll see that happen even with independent artists, and they'll just somehow catch that break, so to speak. The pay, or what is it? Every radio station, that was a different thing, where you vote for
sure.
crank it or yank it type of thing. Back from even still. So you're always, like, hoping for the good guy to get out there and at least be seen by somebody, beside a show. You want your music to the masses, and that's what I try to do with my playlists, to get out there for everybody. And I got lagging on that because life.
I understand, brother. I understand that totally.
So hopefully soon I'll have one together. I've got a bunch of people sent me some new stuff, so including your new one. So it'll be out on the Spotify playlist. Hopefully, like I said, I'm gonna try. Can't hope. I'm off the 4th, so I'm gonna try maybe to work on the 4th. If I don't, because we ain't gonna party. We'll be home all night trying to keep the dog from barking and the cat from going a little crazy.
That will be a full-time job on Independence Day for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's already that time of year.
Yeah, I can't believe
So,
it.
right. So you do. Let's get back to today, or moving forward from today. So you got a tour coming up in early August, well, mid August, with Berlin. And what other stuff you got going on, like tours and
Yeah.
next new? You said the album's coming. You just don't know when it'll be completed or everything.
Yeah. So we have some more shows with Skillet coming up here in Indiana. A couple more festivals this summer, like Uprise Fest and One Fest up in Wisconsin, and then the run with the boys in Relent coming up, and we're done with the record. Um, we're done with our part. We're just kind of waiting now for a few things to happen on the mixing end and the mastering end. But I mean, we've been done for a while, and we're hoping to have that out
Who
really
produced this
soon.
one, real quick?
What's that?
Who produced this one?
Yeah, this is a guy named Mitchell Marlowe. So, do you remember a band called Righteous Vendetta?
Yep.
Yeah. So we had done some tours with those guys. We kind of became good friends with them. And they put out a record called Cursed years ago that we just thought sonically was one of the best hard rock records we've ever heard. It was extremely well written, um, and just sleek and produced so well. So back in 2020, we sought this guy out. He was in LA at the time, and it was during COVID, but we flew out to LA and did an EP with him and just kind of fell in love with him and his style. He's done stuff for, I mean, bands like Papa Roach and In This Moment and all this. So like he's worked with some really big
Heavy
secular
hitter.
acts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heavy hitter.
So he huge blessing. He moved to Nashville somewhat recently. So since then we've been working with him, on the production side, and he's just incredible. I think we kind of found our guy. He kind of gets what we're going for. He helps our songs come alive, and it's just really cool because he's kind of like another member of the band when we're in the studio with him. Like we come with these parts, and I mean, sometimes the songs are pretty much recorded as is with his special sauce on it, but then sometimes we'll sit down and say, I think we can beat this chorus, and we get out the acoustic guitars and start, trying to come up with a better chorus or a better bridge part or whatever. And I really think that's cool. He challenges us, but also has worked with us long enough that he kind of knows what we're going for, and he knows how to get the best out of us. So it's been really cool, man. We absolutely love working with him. He's a good guy.
Cool. So going back to the tour now. I'm sorry, we were talking about the album, so I figured I'd ask that because we were talking about producers earlier.
Sure.
So where else we going? Where else we got going on for the next, say, to the end of the 2026?
Yeah, I mean, just a handful of festivals, the tour with Relent, and some more Skillet shows. So pretty pumped about that. And then hopefully the record will be out really soon, and I think you can expect some pretty cool things from that. Um, we already have some stuff in the works for 2027 as far as shows. We're heading back overseas, um, I believe, and then we have some cool tours and shows lining up for early 2027 already. So I mean, Lord willing, he'll just continue to use the protest as he sees fit, and we just continue to do this thing. And I do believe that this record will be really, really special. And we just couldn't be more excited to share it with everybody.
Cool. Let's see. We'll go back to the comments for a minute. We got Sherry Brenneman from the I Against No One camp saying, hey.
Oh yeah.
Blake Johnson said we're doing a good interview. Going back, Jay Carp's talking about Matt's advice to people will remember how you made them feel. From the time I met you, the gift I felt in you was a magnetic pull to you. But you love on, encourage people, and nobody ever leaves your presence without feeling better than when they came to you. So that's what I was just talking about. It's the important part is, I mean, especially that's one thing. That's one of the coolest things with most. I'd say 95% of the artists in the scene. They are approachable. They will love on you. They will pray with you. They will do their part. There are some that they won't. They'll go out and talk, but they won't. But like I said, 95% of the scene, I think, will do that just because
And
that's what they feel called with.
yeah, and like I I understand certain cases, like if you're a guy like John Cooper, like I've seen firsthand that guy witnessing to people, to strangers, but like you know if you hit a certain level like that, for him to go out like before a show or during the show, he would get he would get mobbed, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's impossible for him to talk to every single person. It's just not possible, or else he would not make the next show. And knowing John's heart, he'd probably be okay with that, But
Right.
but they're a pretty big operation, so like they have to keep things going. But like, I mean, that's the thing, and I think that's what's so cool about being in a band like we are. Yes, like we've seen some, you know, um, some success, all through Jesus, but we're still at a level where we're able to talk to people, and that's just really important for us because, I come to a lot of shows thinking, you know, rather egotistically, like, oh, I'm gonna really make a difference in people's lives tonight, but I quickly am humbled when I find out that speaking to these amazing people, friends, family, fans that after the show, and hearing their stories and their encouragement, like I always leave feeling more encouraged talking with everyone. There's just some amazing people out there, and it's always an honor to get to speak with everyone. And I hope in some way, shape, or form we can continue to do that. That's really important to us. We don't want to leave the venue until we've we've had the chance to meet anyone that wants to meet us.
And I think that's true. I mean, I've seen that with Kevin Young from Disciple. Some nights, he'll sit out there for a few hours.
Yes, he will.
So
yeah,
So
and again, I'm so blessed to learn from guys like that. Like a lot of bands took us out on the road, not I mean not just the Disciple guys, but like the guys in Decipher Down were huge for us and teaching us how things work. The Letter Black, Nine Lashes, Ashes Remains, Sent by Ravens, all these bands that we toured with at a very young age that kind of showed us the ropes, and not just how to be in a professional band, but how to love on people and how to be a Christ-like example in everything you do. And I'm very fortunate to have grown up in that time, because at that time when we were kind of getting started, that's when like Christian rock was like it was really peaking at that point, and it kind of fell off after that. So it's been kind of interesting to be like we've kind of stuck around since that time to kind of witness that slight fall and rise again, and so it's been very interesting.
For sure. I mean, you've seen like in that time frame, even the bands you just spoke of, how many of those are now just doing once a year show or no shows, or some, and there's a few of them that are still floating around. I mean, but the scene, that's one thing I've always had that's always been rough, is you'll see a band release an album and be gone. And I mean, I have that discussion all the time with, like I said, being in the scene as long as I've been in. I can't tell you how many bands I've seen in the 90s that came and went so quick. It's like I've tried to tell people. Everybody's like, oh, why do you have so many CDs? Well, some of the bands that are independent from back in the day didn't put their stuff on. Their stuff's not on Spotify.
No, like you can't find it. Maybe on YouTube.
Maybe on YouTube, but if you're lucky,
yeah, no, you're totally right. And like I think about that a lot. Like a couple bands that had a major impact on us that only put out like 2 records were Sent by Ravens and Write This Down. Like, you know, those guys had a huge impact on me and our band and what we're doing. And they put out 2 records, you know, and I mean, both those records are just incredible, and they still have this staying power because of what they meant to people. But yeah, like it's important, you know, to have that media. I think still. I mean, dude, like I still have a ton of CDs, you know. Yeah, I don't have
Yeah.
space for them, but I have them.
No. Yeah, that my wife says I have a silver disc addiction.
Sure.
I've got so many, but
Yeah.
I listen to so much variety too. So I mean,
Yeah.
on my phone there's 6,000 songs of every type of possible genre
Oh,
you
sure.
can think of. So
Yep. Same.
all right, so we've talked for almost an hour and a half. We'll finish up here and get ready for I can get dinner and you can have the rest of your evening to yourself.
Sure.
So we've talked about where you're going, where you've been. So I'll give you a brief time. You're like we just talked about. You're willing to speak. Why don't you let out your heart if you want to? It's up to you. Speak on your heart for right now. What you want to tell people? Do you talk about hope? Do you talk about whatever you're feeling tonight for a few minutes? Your testimony or whatever, however you want to put it.
Sure. You know, something I've been really working at lately is praise and fighting any feelings that I have. Well, okay, so if you've seen me play, or you know, or heard us play, or you know, or heard me speak or give a message, then you might know that I've struggled pretty hard my whole life with anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts. I mean, been in and out of therapy, on medication, off medication, trying everything I can, all this stuff. So that's kind of my background. It's by the grace of God that I'm here today. So thankful. So I guess something that I want to encourage everyone to think about is, you know, just how good God is, even when our prayers aren't being met like we want. That He's still good. That praise is an amazing, wonderful thing, but sometimes it's hard. You know, sometimes praise isn't always beautiful and clean. It's a battle every day to fight back the enemy, to fight back those feelings of hopelessness with praise. It is a battle to actively do that. It's not always easy. And I just want to encourage anyone listening now that one, you are not alone. Even, you know, if you're a Christ follower, I know that you still struggle and fall short because you're human. You know, just like me. If you're not a Christ follower, I want you to know that there is hope in Jesus. He saved me from you know, taking my own life. He saved me from, you know, drinking and drinking until, you know, I might have died. You know, it's just, you know, like there's only one way to fill that emptiness inside, and that's with Him. As cliche as that sounds, and just remember that, you know, to fight back the enemy, to fight back those powers of darkness, you know, we need Christ in our heart, and we need to praise even when it's difficult, even when our prayers aren't being met like we think, and we're at the end of our rope. He is still a good God who loves us no matter what.
Amen. I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that. Well, let's tell everybody where we can find the protest and yourself online.
Yeah.
We'll close up for this evening.
Sure. The Facebook, Instagram. I'm gonna roll my eyes when I say this one, but it's true. We do have a TikTok now. Can't believe I'd ever say that. YouTube, all that stuff. But everything can be found on our website, theprotestrocks.com. Check it out. New music coming very soon. We hope to see you out there at a show. And yeah, we love you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. Again, I'm Metal Mike with Radio Oz. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, and YouTube. Again, thanks, Josh. We appreciate you this evening.
Absolutely. I got one
Catch
more
up
thing
with
to
you hopefully
say.
soon.
One
What's
more
that?
thing to say. One more
Sure.
thing to say. Everyone, support this amazing show. This is a good dude who, again, he's not doing this for fame or fortune. He's doing this to reach people at the end of the day and give artists like me a platform and a chance. So make sure that you like his page, comment on his stuff, subscribe to anything that he puts out because he's a real deal.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
If you stick around, I want to talk to you for a minute after the show, and we'll catch up, and we'll see you later, guys. Everybody have a great evening. Have a safe
Peace.
Fourth.